Hi everybody, my name is Michelle Candela and I just wanted to take a few minutes to go over one of the many articles that I will be using in my research paper over postpartum depression. Um, we'll just go ahead and jump in and get started here. I don't want to take up too much of your time. In the mint green, I have highlighted a few of her quotations, which I say that loosely because she uses a lot more paraphrasing and summarizing throughout the article. I think that makes it easier when writing a research paper because that way you can reword the information to fit it into whatever section you need it to without changing the information itself. And we'll go ahead and go on to some of her citations. She does follow the APA format of citations and using the names of the authors as well as publication dates. And I highlighted those in the darker green here. And then another part is she uses the name also in the sentence a few times, not as much, publication date still next to it. And then another example of in-text citation here. But she does do a lot of citations throughout her article, which says that she uses a lot of research, which is really nice. The next thing I wanted to go over is her section headings. She only has a few throughout her paper, not very many, as you can see in blue. I think it keeps it minimal, and it kind of keeps it concise as to what you're reading. The only time she used subsections here was going over the different types or variations of postpartum depression and how they're different. That's the only time I really see it throughout the paper. The next thing I wanted to go over are her reporting verbs. I highlighted a few of these in orange as examples. Postpartum depression is a subject that has nothing to do with a tangible, touchable thing. It's something that we rely on patients telling us their symptoms. So the research done on the subject is based on that. That information can be open to interpretation or differ depending on someone's opinion. Most of the verbs used throughout her article are according to, found, suggests, something like that, which tells us that a lot of the information used in any of these types of articles is subjective and open to anybody's interpretation of who reads it or who's taking that information. Another thing I wanted to go over is her vocabulary. It's highlighted in pink. It's fairly technical, but not to the point that a person who wasn't in the healthcare field couldn't read it. She uses more in-depth words instead of something basic, which suggests that she does have higher education. Anything written in a healthcare journal, I would hope, would most likely be written by someone with higher education. For example, manifest instead of get symptoms. And there was one more that was, oh, here it is, dissipate instead of go away. Those are just some higher level words that are used instead of some basic examples. One more thing I wanted to go over are her tables. There's 3 used in the article, and they're mainly to sum up information at the very end. One is for, the signs of postpartum depression. One is for some postpartum blues signs instead of the actual postpartum depression. And the last one are her internet sources. She uses them at the end. And I think it's just to keep the article going, and then kind of sum up everything at the end so people can kind of get a basic idea of what she was kind of going over, which is nice. She doesn't use any first-person references, or not many, in her article. She does use third-person mentions like they, them, their, when talking a lot about patients as a whole or the educators as a whole, or referencing authors from her sources, the researches that she used. And the last thing, there's no real examples of hedging, however, in this article. It wasn't really one to choose sides with. It was just simply stating what more could be done to educate people on postpartum depression and what they can do. So that is a basic overview of my article. Thanks for listening, and I hope you have a good night.